How many of you know NestGSV? You know it? You met yesterday. You know it too. All right. Joining me right now is Kayvan Baroumand. Baroumand. Did I pronounce your last name right?
Yep.
He is the founder of GSV.
NestGSV.
What does Nest do?
So NestGSV is a technology innovation center that brings together startups, corporations, governments, and universities to collaborate together to use technology to solve big problems. So in a sense, we're the accelerator of accelerators. We're building a globally connected network of these innovation centers. Our first center is in Silicon Valley. We have about 80,000 square foot campus and about 80 companies in there right now. And with a plan of opening up centers this year in certain markets around the world.
Can you give me an example of how you work with a company? Maybe one company and how you work with them.
Sure. So I think what we do best is engage the different stakeholders in the innovation economy. So, for instance, what we do best is bring together startups and large corporations and governments. So in the case of, let's say, Tata Communications, we engage with them strategically.
What does Tata do?
Well, Tata does many things.
Excuse me.
Well, Tata is a conglomerate.
The Indian company?
The Indian company.
Yes.
So in this case, we are dealing with Tata Communications. And just to give you the idea how large Tata is, 50% of the global internet traffic goes through Tata Communications pipes. So
50% of global...
50 to 60%.
Okay.
So all the sub-oceanic pipelines, basically the fiber that connects all the continents together, that's all owned by Tata Communications.
Okay, so they come to you for what?
So Tata, all their customers are all the carriers around the world. And obviously what they're trying to do is create more value to their customers who are all the carriers around the world and the service providers. So, and at the same time, they're looking for strategies that would drive more traffic, more bandwidth. So in the case of Tata, we were engaged to identify technologies in the video and collaboration space.
Because video takes up a lot of bandwidth, and they want people who are using... Okay, so they come to you and they say, help us out, help us get more companies out there to use video.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And at the same time, they're looking to provide more services to their customers, who are all the carriers. So in terms of creating, kind of going up the stack and providing additional services to their clients.
All right, and so how do you do that for them?
So we have a kind of a 6-month engagement process where we start with the ideation concept and we work with the CEO, CTO, and CMO of Tata, and we bring other strategic stakeholders, like a Google, Intel, and other people that are strategic to Tata's initiatives to the table around this initiative.
Why is Google strategic for them?
Well, for a number of reasons. Google is one of their large customers.
Okay.
And at the same time, so that's the main reason, quite frankly.
By the way, you hold a mic better than anyone else, including me. Are you a musician?
I am so elegant, aren't I?
You're good on everyone else. I have to keep gesturing and letting them know to get it closer.
Well, this is a nice mic, so.
All right. Are you a rapper on the side?
I am a rapper, so.
All right.
I actually do a lot of lip syncing.
Okay.
But what we do then is we invite other stakeholders.
Okay.
And then what we do is we engage in actually hackathons. And our hackathons, we call them corporate hackathons, because not only do we bring developers to the table, but we also bring existing startups to build technologies that would be strategic and leveraging the APIs of the partners who are engaged.
So when we talk about the people in this room, this is the part where they might be working with you.
Absolutely. Well, absolutely. So from the startup's perspective, what we do, and the nice thing about this is we get commitment. So the biggest challenge with large corporations is engaging with large corporations. You know, for us to get the engagement with Tata, it took us 6 months to get the engagement. And when we're having our meetings, just because they're a large corporation, you know, I would have 15 people on the other side of the table, and we'd be negotiating the process and the steps. And before our meeting, they would have another meeting. So a startup would get killed during this entire process. So what we do is we negotiate all the activities and engagement ahead of time. And then so when we go into engaging the startups, we already have commitments at the CEO, CMO, and CTO level. So the engagement process is, if they deliver, is immediate and almost guaranteed.
All right. So then you get these startups into the hackathon.
Right.
And how do you help them? What do you do with all these resources that you've just mentioned?
So to give an example, when we do a hackathon, we actually do them cross-continent. So when we did the hackathon with Tata, we did it simultaneously in Silicon Valley in our campus and in Bangalore. And we had over 400 developers participate in it. 60 projects were developed. We awarded prizes to 11 of them, and 5 of them we put through an accelerator program. So what we do with these hackathons is what's so unique is that we actually then, after the hackathon, take those winners, have very specific objectives of what we need to do to take the company and product further, and then with, you know, an engagement at the very end. So we do our accelerator at the end of the process.
And it's your accelerator.
And it's our accelerator.
What's different about your accelerator beyond the way that people get in?
So we have 10 accelerators in our facility. We have different types of accelerators that we are engaged with. Some of our own and some are partners that we have. You know, I don't see, you know, actually this is the area where I say that hasn't been a lot of innovation, and that's in accelerators. I quite frankly think that they are a very important part of the process and the ecosystem. But the area where I always become critical is graduation from accelerators. And it's kind of like graduating from kindergarten. You know, I think it's a milestone, but the journey has just begun. So what we do is we see the accelerator as just a small part of the engagement process. Now, what's different about our accelerator programs is once our engagement with the corporate partner ends, we actually continue and support the startup. And because we know that a startup needs more than 3 months. You know, on average for a startup will need, on average, we believe 2 to 2.5 years to kind of get off the ground in an appropriate way to become independent. So we like to engage with the companies longer, but at the same time, we see the importance of accelerators.
I did some research in preparation for this, and I started nothing crazy, except for this, that every time I was researching accelerators, I kept seeing people say the Harvard of accelerators, of incubators is Y Combinator, and then there's everyone else. Do you ever feel like, I'm in the world too, I'm in the world too?
Bitch.
Do you feel that?
Well, yeah, but that's not an issue. I've been doing this for 10 years. So NestGSV, I'm not surprised a lot of people don't know us. We're only a year and a half old. But I've been doing this for 10 years. I was a founding CEO of Plug and Play Tech Center. I was an investment manager at Meadzot Ventures. You know, we've worked with, I personally probably worked, I think the last time I counted, it's around 1,250 companies.
Plug and Play gave space and funding, right? And
yes.
To entrepreneurs.
Yes.
In exchange for equity. Did you get any of the equity, or did you just watch the founders?
Well, no, I did not get. That's why I started NestGSV.
So did that bother you for years to say, look at this, everyone around me is getting rich, everyone around me is building these companies?
No, I'm not upset because I started NestGSV.
Am I the only one who's upset by stuff like this?
Well, no, I think, what happens is you have to, I never regret any of the decisions I made in my career. I've been very fortunate. I've had I feel a fun career. And so I saw Plug and Play as a stepping stone to building NestGSV.
And helping you understand what it takes to accelerate companies and which ones are going to make it.
Right, and it's because of my experience at Plug and Play that I've been able to do what I'm doing today.
I'll take some questions from the audience,
Sure.
but what's one thing that you learned from the experience of Plug and Play that makes you a better investor?
get better faster from plug and play?
What is it that made you a better capable of identifying talent, better capable of helping entrepreneurs grow?
Well, I think what plug and play was for me was a boot camp.
Uh-huh.
So when when you're dealing with 1,000 companies, over a 6-year period of time, but the most important lesson I think that entrepreneurs should not take for granted is the value of relationships. The reason why I was able to leave Plug and Play, and I was the COO of Plug and Play, so I was making good money. I had we had a brand going on there, but it's because of the relationships that I personally built that I was able to leave Plug and Play and start something else. So I would say and Silicon Valley is one of those unique locations where relationships take you a long way. Now the next part is success and execution. But, I think that's a lot of entrepreneurs, especially internationally, when they come and we deal with numerous governments around the world, they pitch us on so much on their technology. And sometimes I just got to stop them and just learn more about them and really testing, because technology changes fast with open source, cloud computing, mobility. You may start with an idea, but I promise you in a 6-month period of time, you will make numerous changes to your strategy. So technology from a industry and a market may be important, but what's really important is that person, the team you're building, and the investor's confidence in your ability to deliver. And a lot of, especially international companies, put so much emphasis on their technology, and when they give presentations, it looks like a white paper. And they really should be more like Steve Jobs, where there's only one word per slide, and it's the story that's important, and then that relationship's important.
All right. Speaking of relationships, your number one fan here, Nicholas.
Hi there. I am Nicholas Seat. I'm with a virtual incubator called Civi.com.
Right.
I am actually a longtime fan of Plug and Play. I was a speaker there a couple of years back, and telling about my success story because I'm a, quote, successful entrepreneur, quote. And I'm trying to codify all of those learnings into this virtual incubator. But the question is, and it's sort of a loaded question because I sort of know what you're going to say, but I just want to hear it from you. What's your opinion of the classic Y Combinator demo day?
So let me first ask you what you think my answer is.
Oh, yeah. What do you think?
Demo day is what it is, and it services a very small portion of the industry constituent.
I think that demo days, first of all, I'm tired of the word demo day because every accelerator has a demo day. A demo day, in my opinion, is it's like, balance sheets are important, right, in a P&L. It gives you an assessment of where you are at that moment in time. And that's what a demo day is to me. But what happens is a lot of entrepreneurs, especially like with the Y Combinators and so forth, it gets hyped up so much that I think what it really does, it leaves false expectations for the entrepreneur himself. Now, on the plus side, these companies from Y Combinators have higher valuations than most other accelerator programs. But ultimately, once the hype goes down, they may kind of benefit from the residual of the Y Combinator brand. But, their journey is just beginning.
Kindergarten graduation?
Yeah, let's have cupcakes.
Yeah.
Hey, first of all, I like what you're doing with True Mind, Andrew. Oh, Kayvan, or MCB, I guess could be your rap name. My first company was a record label, so I'm somewhat qualified, seriously, to judge your talent. But so if the demo day format's not ideal, can you talk a little bit more about the 6-month program, how you structure it in your accelerator?
Yeah. So now the 6-month program is really from the corporate perspective, that's basically how long it takes to develop a proper program with large corporations, bringing other strategic stakeholders, doing the hackathons, and then the accelerator program. Our engagement with the startups is as long as the startup needs the engagement. So different startups, accelerate at different levels. And we have the luxury of not having to be tied into timelines, even though we do, make our accelerators 3 months long, but we still continue supporting the companies. And that's really important. And when a company no longer needs that support. It happens. They get acquired, they go out of business, or they just start building their team and so forth.
I saw one more question over here. Yes.
Hi, I'm Michael Cole from the Video Publisher Network Cole. My question to you is, what is the best way to create partnerships with your accelerator startups?
Well, we could talk right now. I have a team, that basically manages that process, and I'll be glad to give you his email address. I'll give you my email address. And basically what we do is we just start and understand what you're trying to achieve there. And then we've basically now taken that business model in a cookie-cutter fashion. So we'll share that with you, and you can tell us, which parts you want to engage with and which ones you don't.
What is a good way for people to connect with you?
Well, I do karaoke on Monday nights at Silver Cloud. No.
What's a good email address?
Kayvan, Kayvan at NestGSV.com.
You said that building relationships is important for you. I've been looking for ways to build relationships with people who are busy. We did Scotch night, right?
Mm-hmm.
Steve Young was there. Dinners at my house. Poker. What do you do?
Wow. So we're a year and a half old. Last year we did over 150 events.
Wait, as a company, 150 events.
Yes.
Oh, but you do them internationally.
No, all at Nest.
Right here.
Right here.
Okay.
In Silicon Valley. So
one every other day.
Sometimes we do 3 a day.
Okay.
So for us, networking, we believe, is a very important piece for a startup. We have weekly community lunches. And when I say we did over 150 events, we probably ourselves did about 40 of them, and the other 100 is in partnerships with other entrepreneurial organizations that use our facility.
Gotcha,
we have 3
yes.
event centers, and we make sure that our community and our broader community gets to participate in them. We do a number of dinners. We participate.
What about you personally? You've gotten to meet so many incredible entrepreneurs.
Right.
What do you do to stay connected to them?
Well, events like this. I'm probably one of the hardest working people. I'm day in life. Besides I work or I'm with my family. So I'm constantly going to events. We just to give you an idea, because we engage with governments, we have tour buses coming, into our facility with entrepreneurs from around the world. So we're pretty busy, where we're at.
Sounds like it's Steve Young. We're going to have to step it up.
Uh-oh.
How about one final question? And I know I see the timer. Yes. Say your name when you're on mic.
Yes. Hi, my name is Vera. I have a startup that is founded by a startup Rio, Brazil.
Okay.
And that's my primary market. How is that going to fit into Nest? And if you or Nest would have any interest in incubate a Brazilian primary focused startup?
Okay. I guess my first question is, why are you here? And no, I mean, for real, like, why did you want to come to Silicon Valley?
I live here. I lived 12 years in Los Angeles, just moved
Okay,
to San
so you
Francisco.
live here now.
From here, yes.
But your company, its primary customer base is in Brazil.
Correct.
Okay, and what type of company is it?
It's a crowdsourcing platform for entertainment professionals.
Right. Okay, so we have partnerships with actually Startup Brazil. And in our facility, we have 5 Brazilian startups actually right now as we speak. So I think the best way to penetrate the Brazilian market is to have a presence in Brazil. I think that's always the best thing to do. But I could basically introduce you to our Brazilian companies. We actually have an IPTV company called Hands On TV. I don't know if you're familiar with them. So Rodrigo and his team are at Nest. Outsource Brazil is at Nest. And we're actually doing business with a number of large Brazilian companies. So we can sit down and talk and see any of those fit.
All right. Are you going to be around here for follow-up conversations?
Absolutely.
All right, Kayvan, thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you.
All right.